You guys all like to have some fun once in a while, right? I do too. That's what we're gonna do today. This is gonna be fun. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to this episode of Home Built Workshop. My name is Jeff, and yes, this, I'm hoping, is going to be a fun episode, having a little bit of fun with my trusty chainsaw with the big long bar. That can only mean one thing, and if you guessed chainsaw milling, you are absolutely correct. I have got an awesome piece that we're gonna cut open and see what's inside it. In a few other videos, you guys have seen me do a little bit of milling with this setup, and I've mentioned that milling is something that I want to try to do more and more of. Well, I got an opportunity to get some reclaimed barn beams and some other materials from an old barn a little ways away from me. Well, one of the things there was this giant log, and the owner really just kind of wanted it out of there. But there's a couple things on this log that really stuck out to me and really made me want to bring it home. The first thing I noticed when I walked by this log sitting out in a field for who knows how many years was the fact that on the outside of the log, you could see this amazing figure. As soon as I saw that, I knew that I needed to get this log so that we can slice it open and see what's inside. Now, at the moment, I'm not really sure what this is. I have a feeling that it's maybe a maple, but I'm not sure if that's the case or not. I know that it's been sitting out for a very long time. It's got a lot of cracks and things in it, but I'm imagining that inside of it, it's probably pretty awesome. Now, a good buddy of mine gave me a hand with loading up these super heavy timbers as well as this log. We were so anxious to see what was inside it that we made a really quick cut once we got it home just to open up the top and look inside. Holy cow. Wow. So without any more messing around, let's get this thing outside, set up in the mill, and we'll start making some more cuts and really get a good idea of what the inside of this old tree looks like. I'm gonna first load my saw into my Alaskan chainsaw mill. This just slips right in, and then we tighten it down with a couple of bolts that clamp down on the bar and keep everything in place. Now, since we did the first initial cut really quick, I didn't really get it as level as possible, so I'm going to reset my rails to make the second cut. You don't normally have to do this for the second cut, but again, I want to try to get it nice and level. Once I get everything set, I like to put a ratchet strap around the log if I can. This helps hold everything in place and keep it from shaking around. I guess now we're ready to just fire up the saw and start making some cuts. You can tell a little bit better here that the ratchet strap is going to be in the way when I get down a little bit farther. That's not really a big deal. I'll just stop and reposition it behind the saw to hold the rails in place. Once I get pretty close to the ratchet strap, I'll just stop for a second, unhook it, and re-secure the strap behind the saw. This way I can continue my cut. Now, these rails do have some little dogs that you can drive into the side of the wood, but really these are intended for the first cut, so you'd be driving them into the bark. Since I've already made the first cut, I don't want to drive those dogs into this wood because I don't want to damage the wood. With the strap repositioned, now I can continue my cut. It's just really kind of important not to put the strap too close to the chain or you will cut it in half. Whoops. In hindsight, I probably should have just gotten another strap and tied the rails back down, but I decided to continue the cut without the strap, and you can see here as I'm cutting, the rails will walk all over the place, and that really is why I like to use the ratchet strap. Now, I really only strap that down while I'm using those straight edge guide rails. Once we have this nice and flat, we won't need to use those, but yeah, now you can see why I like to strap it down. Just don't strap it too close to the blade because, well, you'll cut it in half. That's okay, they make more straps every day. Now I have no idea how long this log has been down, but I'm going to use the Orion 950 moisture meter made by Wagner Meters to test what I think might be big leaf maple. 13.3, 15.6, 15.3, so 15% in the middle. That's fairly dry for a log, which kind of tells me this has probably been down for a number of years. And that's of course assuming that this is big leaf maple. If it is, I don't know where it would have come from yet, but I like it. So now I'm going to make another cut. This time I've reset my mill to make a really thick 5-inch piece. I want to try to keep these a little bit larger. That way I have a ton of options when it comes time to mill these down into smaller chunks. This next cut really went quite a bit easier without having to worry about those rails. Until I got to about this part. Watch the left-hand side of the bar. You'll see a spark come flying out. I hit a nail. Didn't know it was there. I didn't see any evidence on the outside of this log of any metal being in there. I guess that's a good reason to invest in a metal detector. I should have stopped there and touched up the chain because I could tell right away that it just wasn't cutting quite like it was, but I opted to keep going until I ran out of room on the mill. This log down at this end was wider than I could go with the bar on this saw. So I ended up having to grab what now feels like a little bitty baby chainsaw and trimming a little bit off the end. And it wasn't long after this point that my camera battery died. I really wasn't even paying attention to the camera. I was too focused on getting through this last cut. Even after removing a little bit of material, I still had to remove my big saw from the mill and finish the cut kind of freehand. So let's see what we have. Huh. Yep, right there is the culprit of my saw troubles. It's a nail. Man, how long ago was that nail put in this tree? Wow. It's nowhere near the center of the tree, but man, that's why my chain quit cutting so well. After looking at this a little bit more, I'm starting to notice some of these darker, kind of grayish streaks in here. I feel like this could possibly be silver maple, but I don't know. I spent a few minutes cleaning it up just with a sander with some 80 grit, just to kind of get an idea of what it might look like. Before we wet it down, let's check the moisture again. So a little farther down in the tree, we're at 20%, 16.5, 16.9, 16.8, 9.3 over here, 16, 11. So this center portion is going to have a little bit of time to dry yet. I'm going to have to see if I can get that nail out of there at some point. Let's do the old water bath and see. I'm not sure if you can tell on the camera or not. There's figure all through this still. Looks like there's a little bit of flame there. A little variety. Some larger flame, maybe quilt kind of patterns. This is such a cool log. Amazing that Mother Nature gives that to us. I think I'm going to hold off for now on cutting the rest of that giant log, mainly because it's maxing out the size of my mill. So I got to figure out the best way to cut it going from here. I don't know if I'm going to want to turn it and maybe take some off of the sides. I'm not quite sure yet what the best option is. I've also got this log that is probably from the same tree. I'm not quite sure yet. We got to get that cut as well. I might haul these out to my local hardwood dealer, JW Hardwoods out in Peyton, Colorado, and they got a mill out there and some pretty cool machines for moving these big heavy things. I might attack it with the chainsaw mill, but since this wood is actually really cool, I'm a little bit hesitant to send that much of the wood into sawdust. I'd rather cut it on a bandsaw mill where I can save some of the pieces a little bit more. So we'll see what happens, but man, this is really cool. I am super excited to be able to be working on this. Well guys, I think we're gonna wrap up this video right here for now, mainly because, well, I gotta spend a bit of time sharpening this chain. That is one of the downsides of a large bar on a chainsaw. It takes a really long time to sharpen. It's all right, it's gonna give me plenty of time to kind of think through the process of how I'm gonna move forward on this log. I'm still kind of leaning towards the idea of tipping it on its side and maybe taking one cut, maybe off of each side, just to narrow it up a little bit. I don't think doing it that way I would lose a whole lot of material, and then that would allow me to be able to continue milling using this setup, but I'm not quite sure yet, but I'm going to think about that for a little while. But I want to hear from you guys. If you have experience in this, what would you do? Leave it down below in the comments. I'd love to hear your guys' suggestions for moving forward with a log like this. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I always have a good time when I'm running the mill. It's always amazing to see what's inside of a log that no one's ever seen before. Something about the smell of the 2-cycle oil and the sound and everything. I just enjoy that a lot. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next time. Here we go. This chain's toast. Wow, that thing really did a number for one little nail. Some of them don't feel too bad, but a couple of them, the tips are rounded right over. I can feel it.